everyone, I'm Chris LaFont, and this is Movie Time with Chris, the channel devoted specifically to movies, movie trailer reactions, movie reviews, movie birthdays, with a few other special videos along the way. Now, if that sounds like something that you're into, if you love the trailer reactions, if you want the movie reviews before you check it out at the theater, or hey, if you just love movies, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. You're going to get all that great content and then some. Today's Friday. It's Friday the 13th, and we're going to be celebrating some birthdays. Tried to be with it for you guys this week. I know I was a little late last week, but hey, let's jump right into it. Celebrating their 5th birthday this week, we have Killing Season, Pacific Rim, and Grown Ups 2. Now, let's start with Killing Season. It was directed by Mark Steven Johnson, who also did Ghost Rider and Daredevil. So, Marvel comic movies that had potential that ended up not really being that good. But this one stars John Travolta and Robert De Niro. So, I mean, how bad could it really be? It's, you know, they're both veterans of a war, and war has since finished. So Robert De Niro's back in America. John Travolta's a foreigner, and he ends up tracking down Robert De Niro because Robert De Niro killed like the whole crew that John Travolta was running with. And he comes back to seek revenge. He kind of befriends Robert De Niro, and then while they're out in the woods hunting, he turns on him. And it's an interesting movie just in the sense that, you know, it's these two, you know, military veterans hunting each other down through the woods, just using their intellect and what's around. So that's interesting to see, but otherwise, you know, it's the movie's on Netflix if you want to check it out, but you're not missing anything. Pacific Rim. Actually, we'll jump to Grown Ups 2 first. Grown Ups 2, directed by Dennis Dugan, who did, you know, Big Daddy, Happy Gilmore, the first Grown Ups. And this one stars Adam Sandler, Kevin James, David Spade, Chris Rock. This movie was a disappointment for me. I remember watching the first Grown Ups. I screened it at the theater, and I remember walking out of that movie just laughing hysterically. It was laughing almost from beginning to end. It's probably, in my opinion, the funniest movie that has ever been made. And then they followed it up with this one. And what a letdown. There was one scene in the movie towards the end when they're having the big 80s party, and Chris Rock is there with the other black guy, and he's like, "What are you doing here, Bumpy? Aren't you supposed to be out with my daughter? Because the mother looks just like the son." And it's a funny line, but that's really it. As big as Shaquille O'Neal is, he couldn't even carry this movie. Watch the first one, enjoy it, forget there was a second one. It seems to be the trend these days anyway. That's a little hint towards Terminator, Halloween, RoboCop. Moving on. Also celebrating the 5th birthday this week, Pacific Rim. Directed by Guillermo del Toro. Stars Idris Elba, Charlie Hunnam, who, you know, most people know as Jax Teller from Sons of Anarchy, but this movie, you know, it may not have gotten the reception at the theater, but obviously it had a following to it. That's why they made a sequel. But this movie is enjoyable to watch, really, beginning to end. This whole concept of, you know, aliens kind of attacking Earth, but not from space. They create like a portal through, the Ring of Fire in the Pacific Ocean. The action scenes are good. The concept is interesting. The effects, I think, are great. So, this one, definitely top notch for the 5-year-olds. Celebrating 10th birthday this week, we have Hellboy 2 and Journey to the Center of the Earth. Now, Hellboy 2 was also directed by Guillermo del Toro and stars Ron Perlman as Hellboy. And, there's just this race that's trying to take over the Earth, and Hellboy and his team have to stop it, and the movie was not memorable at all. I saw it once in the theater, and I think that was one times too many, but that's kind of unfortunate because Del Toro has these great movies that he directs. But obviously there's a following for Hellboy. That's why they're remaking it. I think the new one's set to come out next year sometime. So we'll see how that one goes. Also, Journey to the Center of the Earth, directed by Eric Brevig. It stars Brandon Fraser and Josh Hutcherson. And this is the first movie this week that we're going to be talking about that's based on a literary work. So this seems to be the week of literary works. But the movie was, for its time, I'd say it was good. A little annoying to watch because it was made for 3D. So there's a lot of scenes where they're purposely holding things out to you, or there's something that's just in your face because it's made for 3D. But if you're not watching it in 3D, it just looks retarded. But it's a good concept. Again, based on the book, Jules Verne. So it's kind of like, not even based on the book, it's like an adaptation of the book into the movie. But enjoyable. It's good to see them when they're younger. 10 years ago, I mean, wow. But hey, check it out if you haven't. You'll get a good laugh. Celebrating 15th birthday this week, the teenagers. We have Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, and The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. And Pirates of the Caribbean, directed by Gore Verbinski, who did Rango, The Ring. If that name sounds familiar, it's because he did Lone Ranger, which I just talked about, I believe was last week. So, it stars Johnny Depp, Jeffrey Rush, Orlando Bloom, Keira Knightley, and this movie was so enjoyable. So much so that it spawned, 1, 2, 3, 4 more movies in the franchise. And this one was the best out of all of them, as is normally the case. The original's always better. And I mean, I don't even know what else to say about it. I don't know anyone who hasn't seen these movies. They're very enjoyable, good laugh, good action. If you haven't seen it, it's time for you to catch up and get with the program. It's good. But to the other teenager this week, the movie that most people forget about, don't want to talk about, did not get any kind of reception that I feel it deserved, is The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. And it's directed by Stephen Norrington, who also did Blade. And it stars Sean Connery as Alan Quatermain. And it's like an alternate, Victorian past takes place in like 1899, so turn of the century, and you have all these literary characters in it. Um, you don't have the Invisible Man because, you know, there was an issue with the rights of who owned it, but they do have a they do work an invisible character into the story. But you have um, Dr. Jekyll and Hyde, you have Captain Nemo. Um, oh my God, why am I drawing a blank on all the characters now? Mina Harkin, uh, Mina and Jonathan, who hunted Count Dracula. So you have Mina, she's a vampire. You have Dorian Gray, um, and Tom Sawyer. And, you know, they're fighting this villain who calls himself the Phantom, who's actually played by M, who's Professor Moriarty, who is, you know, Sherlock Holmes's biggest adversary. So you have all these characters from these great literary works coming together in this movie, and I mean, just the effects, the story, there's nothing to not like about this movie. I felt the whole transformation between Dr. Jekyll and Hyde, because they show it, was done very well. You know, and for myself, it definitely introduced me to a few new characters that I didn't know, like Captain Nemo and Dorian Gray. And since that movie, I've since read their books, and it's just a great, great movie. And it didn't get the reception it should have. It was due for a sequel, and they didn't do it. But, you know, I think it should have been on my list of movies that deserve a sequel. Video I had done a few weeks back, because it definitely leaves it open for it. The way the movie ends, they're still together, and Quatermain is questionably dead, but maybe not, and can come back and still lead them on more adventures. So, such a good movie. I don't know why people didn't like it. If you saw it and didn't like it, give it another shot. If you haven't seen it, give it a first chance. You will not be disappointed. Moving to the adults of this week, the 20-year-olds. We have Lethal Weapon 4 and Small Soldiers. Small Soldiers, directed by Joe Dante, who did The Burbs, Gremlins 1 and 2. It stars Gregory Smith and Kirsten Dunst, who I actually was just watching one of her movies the other day, Interview with a Vampire. But this movie, you know, the concept of it, that, you know, these guys are trying to promote their toy line of characters, and, you know, they've got a certain amount of time to pitch it to this company, and they're given access to some of the company's resources to kind of make the toys a little better, and they end up putting missile chips in the toys, like smart chips, and the toys end up coming to life and thinking they really are who they are. So you've got one side of the toys waging war against the other, with the humans in the middle, and eventually the small soldiers end up waging war against the humans and the Gorgonites, the other toy characters. And just to see this, I mean, it's like, it's a kid-friendly, funny version of Chucky. You know, you got these dolls that come alive and they're basically trying to kill you. So it's enjoyable to see the way the humans interact with them and kind of fight with them and try to take them out, considering that these are military-grade chips that, you know, they're built for war. So putting them in soldiers is interesting, but it's a good time all around. I think probably within the next 5 to 10 years, we might even see a remake of it. I think it could be done so great with the technology of today, and who knows? I mean, they're still making Transformer movies. Why can't they make movies like this? See what happens after the small soldiers were in that town, and you know, the owner of the company was talking about, oh, we should send them to, you know, this country to fight a band of gorillas. Hey, that's not a bad concept. Let's see that spawn off in the next 5 or 10 years, but we'll see. And also we have Lethal Weapon 4. Now, it was directed by Richard Donner, who did Assassins, Conspiracy Theory. It stars Mel Gibson and Danny Glover, and I remember seeing the movie. I didn't see it in the theater, but I did watch it a few times, just on TV. This was before, obviously, streaming services. So whenever it was on, you know, HBO or whatever, I would watch it. It's enjoyable to see these two characters still going. Excuse me, this is the 4th one in their franchise. And in this one, they're fighting the triads, or the Chinese mafia. So, you know, there's a lot of hand-to-hand fighting throughout, just because of that concept alone. I mean, the bad guy in the movie is Jet Li, for crying out loud. You know that there's going to be a lot of fighting in it. But other than those basics, I really can't remember much else about the movie, which is kind of upsetting, because I know I saw it more than once, so it must have been enjoyable. I guess I'm just going to have to go through Vudu and rent it, rewatch it, and kind of relive those old days. But hey, let me know what you think about these movies in the comment section below. It was a lot of movies this week. There was a total of 9. I'm sure you've seen some of them. So let me know your thoughts about it. As always, you can find me on Instagram, Movie Time with Chris. I like to call it the trailer to my channel. You're going to see the little snippets and pictures of videos that I've uploaded, things that I'm currently in the process of uploading. So check those out. If you like that, if you like the trailer, come back to the channel, come back to the movie, and subscribe. Because again, you're going to get all that great content and then some. Now, I say and then some because I'm here for you. So if there's a topic you want to hear about, a video you want to see, a question that you might have, you guys can email me at movietimewithchris@gmail.com. I'm going to check that email multiple times a day. I will not miss your message, and your question, your topic, the video you want to see will definitely come up in a future video. So shoot me that email. Again, I'm here for you. Let's keep the communication 2 ways. Let's just not have me talking to you. Reach out to me, guys. But hey, that's it for the birthdays. And until next time, take care.